She gave me that look, stone cold, and flipped me off. That's when I ended it. Right there, no hesitation. Welcome back to Wives Gone Wild. Your support keeps us going. Where are you tuning in from? We enjoy connecting with you. Now let's dive in. I'm Gary, and the day she raised that middle finger was the day I stopped being blind. People say love is about trust. That when you find someone who feels like home, you give them your whole heart. I used to believe that. Used to think love was about loyalty, about two people facing life together no matter what came their way. But what they don't tell you is, when you trust blindly, you're not being loyal. You're setting yourself up to bleed. I met Kimberly when I was 30. She was 25, all spark and laughter. She had this way of lighting up a room, and back then, I mistook charm for character. I'd been ready to settle down. She made it easy to imagine a future, long walks, inside jokes, a quiet life built on something solid. We dated for just over a year before I proposed. Some said it was fast, but it felt right. No screaming red flags. We clicked. We were that couple people pointed at and said, now that's love. At least, from the outside. After we got married, we moved into a nice place my mother owned. It was comfortable, peaceful. We did everything together in those early days. Groceries, Netflix marathons, little road trips. I thought I had it all. But betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from someone who knows how to smile while twisting the knife. It started small. Kimberly complained about her phone. It was freezing, the battery wouldn't hold, apps crashing left and right. I told her I'd handle it. Took it to a repair shop, thinking it'd be a quick fix. The technician told me repairs would cost almost as much as a new phone. So I figured, why not surprise her? I bought her a brand new phone, thinking she'd be thrilled. Before transferring everything over, I decided to check through her old phone. Not to snoop, just to make sure the important stuff was backed up. Photos, contacts, the usual. But then I saw a folder. Hidden, tucked away like it didn't want to be found. I opened it. Inside was a dating app. My stomach dropped. I opened it. Messages from other men. Dozens. Some flirty. Some filthy. Some from before we were even married. That's when the ground shifted under me. That's when I stopped being the man who assumed loyalty was mutual. I took screenshots. Names. Dates. Every message that burned to read. I handed the phone back to the technician, told him to finish the transfer. But something in me had already changed. And I knew this wasn't just about a phone. This was the beginning of the end. Her betrayal had only just begun. Her next move would be even bolder. Would you have confronted her right then? Or waited to see how deep it really went? When I got home that evening, I already knew how it was going to go down. I walked through the door, calm on the outside, chaos underneath. I pulled the new phone from my pocket and handed it to her with a smile. She lit up instantly, eyes wide with surprise. "Oh my God, babe. You didn't have to do this," she said, throwing her arms around me. She kissed my cheek, full of gratitude. But all I could feel was the weight of the truth sitting between us like a landmine. I let her enjoy the moment for a few more seconds. Then I cleared my throat. Yeah, figured it was better than fixing the old one. By the way, before the transfer, I looked through your phone. Her body stiffened. Her smile dropped so fast, it was like a curtain falling. "Excuse me," she said, eyes narrowing. "I saw it, Kimberly," I said, my voice calm but firm. "The app. The messages." She blinked, then scoffed. "You went through my phone? Seriously, Gary? That's a huge invasion of privacy. Do you not trust me?" There it was. The deflection. She wasn't even denying it, just flipping the guilt back on me. But I was done playing stupid. "That's not the point," I said. "I want to know why you have a dating profile. Why you've been talking to other men." She didn't answer at first. Just looked at me like a child caught stealing, caught between shame and arrogance. Then she shrugged. "Look, I wasn't trying to do anything serious. I was just bored. I never actually planned to meet anyone." That was her excuse. Boredom. I stared at her. "Do you understand how messed up this is?" I said, my voice low. "Giving attention to other men? That's how marriages start to rot. That's how things fall apart." Her eyes dropped to the floor. For a moment, there was silence. Then I laid it out. "You need to end this. Delete the app. Block every guy you've been talking to. I need to know this won't happen again." She nodded. Slow. Hesitant. But she nodded. "Okay, I'll delete it." And right there in front of me, she pulled out her phone and uninstalled the app. I watched her do it, but something inside me stayed on edge. My gut was whispering, this isn't over. For the next 8 months, we went on like nothing had happened. She cooked dinner. We went out on weekends. We even planned a little trip. From the outside, it looked like we were fine. But inside, I was at war with myself. I wanted to believe her. I tried to. But trust, once broken, never settles back where it was. Every time her phone buzzed, I flinched. Every time she laughed at a message, I caught myself watching her face for a flicker of guilt. But I said nothing. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband. I told myself I was rebuilding trust. But really, I was just hoping a lie would turn itself into truth. Then one morning, my body gave me an answer she never would. And it burned like hell. It started with a sting. I brushed it off at first. Just some discomfort when I used the bathroom. Maybe I wasn't drinking enough water. Maybe I'd pulled something. But by that afternoon, it wasn't just discomfort anymore. It was pain. Sharp. Persistent. Like fire under the skin. And then the discharge started. Thick. Yellow. Unmistakable. I sat on the edge of the tub staring at the tile floor, trying to breathe through the panic building in my chest. There was only one explanation, and it was one I wasn't ready to face. The next morning, I drove myself straight to the hospital. The waiting room was cold, sterile. Every tick of the clock sounded louder than it should have. When the doctor finally called me back and ran the tests, I prayed it was something, anything else. But when he returned, his face said it all. "It's an STD," he said. "This type is only transmitted through sexual contact." That was it. No room for confusion. No other way this could have happened. She had slept with someone else. I walked out of that hospital in a daze, the world blurry at the edges. My fists clenched on the steering wheel as I drove home. And that night, I lay next to her in the dark, staring at the ceiling while she slept beside me like nothing had happened. That was the moment everything inside me shifted. The part of me that still wanted to believe her, it died. The next morning, I beat her to the kitchen. I was already there when she walked in, humming, sleepy-eyed, still playing the part. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. I nearly flinched. I let her sit, let her take a sip of her coffee. Then I looked her dead in the eye. "Kim," I said, "have you been with someone else?" She blinked. Her face twisted instantly, offended, angry, like I'd just insulted her soul. "Excuse me? What kind of question is that?" "A simple one," I said, not breaking eye contact. "Have you been with another man?" Her eyes narrowed. "I can't believe this. You're accusing me of cheating again? After everything we've been through?" I didn't blink. "Did you cut off those guys from the dating app? Like you promised?" She slammed her cup down. "Oh my God, Gary. You're really bringing that up again? I told you. I deleted everything. Do you have any idea how exhausting it is to be with someone who doesn't trust you?" But I wasn't playing that game anymore. "Then hand me your phone," I said. She recoiled, pulled it close to her chest like I'd just asked for a limb. "No, that's an invasion of privacy." I nodded. "All right then, let's go get tested. Together." She leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms. "I don't have to prove anything to you." And that, right there, was all the proof I needed. I let my shoulders drop, pretended to back off. Let her think I dropped it. Then the second she looked away, I lunged, grabbed the phone from her hands, pressed it against her stunned face to unlock it. She shrieked, tried to snatch it back, but it was too late. The screen lit up, and what I saw made my stomach turn. Messages, photos, conversations with multiple men, plans to meet, texts that would make a stranger blush, never mind her husband. She had never stopped. Not after the app. Not after I confronted her. Not after the tears or promises. She'd lied every single day. I turned to her, my voice low. "How could you be this unfaithful?" She didn't cry. She didn't deny it. She scoffed and raised her middle finger, right to my face. And in that moment, I felt something inside me snap clean in half. I stared at her in disbelief. The middle finger still hovered in the air, defiant, mocking, like a final nail in the coffin she built with every lie. No tears, no apology, no shame. Just that smug, silent gesture that screamed louder than words. "I don't care what I did to you." And that's when it happened. Something in me shut off. Not with fury, not with shouting. Just a switch flipped. The man who once tried to fix us was gone. The man sitting there now? He was done. "Pack your stuff," I said. "This marriage is over." She scoffed, almost laughed. "Oh, come on. You're being dramatic. I want you gone before I get back." She rolled her eyes like I was bluffing, like this was just another empty threat in an argument she thought she could win. But I didn't wait for a fight. I didn't need a last word. I grabbed my car keys, walked out the door, and I didn't look back. I drove a few blocks before pulling over, hands trembling, not with sadness, but with a furious clarity. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt like I could breathe. I picked up my phone and dialed. "Find me the best divorce lawyer in town," I told my buddy. "I want this over immediately." By the time I reached my parents' house, I already knew I wouldn't be going back. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. They were surprised to see me, especially so early. I didn't offer much explanation, just told them I needed space. They didn't press, and I was grateful. I wasn't ready to speak the whole truth out loud. Not yet. 2 days passed before I walked back into the house we once shared. It was empty. No note. No trace of her in the kitchen. No scent on the pillows. Just silence, and the echo of everything she'd destroyed. But I didn't have to wonder where she went. It didn't take long for the truth to find me. She'd moved straight into another man's home. Not just any man. One of the ones she'd been messaging. One of the men she'd been sneaking around with while lying next to me in our bed. She didn't even wait a week. That realization hit harder than anything the doctor told me. Harder than the night she raised her finger. Harder than the look in her eyes when I caught her red-handed. She had always been ready to leave. She was just waiting for me to be the one to make it official. So I did. I burned the bridge and let her run across the ashes. People talk about divorce like it's just paperwork. A few signatures, some awkward conversations, and then you're free. But they don't tell you about the nights. The nights when the silence weighs more than her absence. The mornings when you reach for a mug she used to use. Or how a song comes on in the car and you have to pull over because your chest suddenly feels like it's caving in. No one tells you that divorce is mourning someone who's still alive. Untangling yourself from a life you built, brick by brick, with someone you thought would be there forever. That's not clean. It's not quick. It's not just a lawyer and a settlement. It's emotional surgery, and it hurts like hell. But I got through it. Slowly. Some days were better than others. I moved my things into a new place, donated what I could, burned what I couldn't bear to keep. I started therapy, and for the first time in a long time, I sat with my own silence and didn't hate it. What stings the most isn't that she cheated. It's that I gave her everything. My loyalty, my time, my trust, and she treated it like a joke, like I was disposable. But I've learned, and I want someone out there to hear this before it's too late. Don't love blindly. Love requires trust, yes, but trust isn't something you give away. It's something people earn. I gave Kimberly my trust because I wanted to believe in her, not because she deserved it. That was my first mistake. Second, when someone disrespects you once, believe they'll do it again. I caught her messaging other men, and I stayed. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. That was the moment I should have walked. Third, trust actions, not words. She told me she deleted the app. She told me it was over. She told me, but her actions told the truth. And last, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. The first red flag is enough. Don't wait around for 10 more just to prove you were right to walk. I'm not telling this story for sympathy. I'm telling it because someone listening right now, you, might be where I was. You're seeing the signs. You're questioning your gut. You're making excuses for someone who keeps hurting you. Stop. Protect your heart. Protect your future. Because the moment I stopped making excuses was the moment I got my life back. And if this story hits too close to home, maybe it's time you ask yourself, what would you fight for? Your relationship or your self-worth? Drop your wild story below and subscribe for more. We'll be here. You're not alone.